Shamanism and Crystals. Crystals and Rainbows by J. Steinberg. In a crystal, we have the clear evidence of the existence of a formative life principle, and though we cannot understand the life of a crystal, it is nonetheless a living being. Nikola Tesla, 1900. Part 1. Using Crystals. Many ancient civilizations used crystals in their healing ceremonies and rituals. The high priesthoods of Atlantis and later Egypt were reputed to know and practice the arcane art, science, magic of the white crystal, and the Arturian wizards of the Middle Ages were willed this legacy as well, whether the crystal was held by hand, consulted as polished spheres, or mounted on golden scepters and silver wands. Is it accidental or mere coincidence that throughout history so many tribal people the world over have discovered the healing properties of crystals, from the Mayans, Aztecs, Incas, and other Indians of the Americas, and the Kahunas of Polynesia to the Aborigines of the Australian bush? Indeed not. Rather, these medicine power objects seem to have been intuitively identified, understood, and utilized by these people as highly effective instruments of healing. Perhaps somewhere in time past there was real comprehension of the attuning properties of crystals for physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. But today, much of this mystical knowledge is veiled in lore and archaic or esoteric language, confounded by superstition and flashy psychism, or just plain lost to posterity. There are, however, fortunate several relatively cogent and dependable sources from which to draw some pertinent information. 1. Established science. 2. Legitimate ritual. 3. Accredited psychic receivership. And 4. Documented or proven practice. Let us now explore briefly each of these areas with regard to the use of crystals as instruments of healing. Actual personal knowledge will prevail. Established science. An excellent overview of how crystals work therapeutically on the human body is provided by researchers at Crystal Visions, Los Angeles, California. Imagine the human body as a fluctuating field of energy which surrounds and permeates its physical boundaries. This energy field will reveal the imbalances in pattern of flow. There may be problems with a person's internal organs, emotional life, or habits of thought, all of which affect the way energy flows through the person. Now imagine a crystal with its molecular structure fixed in a standard geometric pattern. The more perfect the crystal is, the more its atoms will be locked into a single shape. Rather than canceling each other out, the atoms in the structure create a unique energy pattern which is amplified and contributed to by each molecular grouping in the crystal, resulting in a very distinct vibratory energy field, much like the pulsed light of a laser as opposed to the diffused shine of a light bulb. Marcel Vogel, a retired senior scientist from IBM, known for his research on liquid crystals and plant sensitivity, compares crystalline structures with the nature of thought. Very clear and well-defined, sending out a particular pattern of energy, as compared with the amorphous confusion of emotion and feelings. It is this similarity between thought and crystals that is a key to understanding how crystals work. Now imagine the pulsating vibratory field of a crystal entering the energy field of a human body. Imbalances in a person's aura can be balanced either by passively letting the crystal do its work or by actively attuning one's thoughts to the vibration of the crystal. By following intuition, one is usually drawn to the crystal that is needed. The crystal itself is not the source that does the healing. It is simply a tool to align and our energies with the perfection of heavenly and cosmic laws. Once realized, This perspective can free us to work very creatively with the mineral world. As both Vogel and the Crystal Visions people advocate, one of the best ways of learning about the therapeutic use of the crystals is to start using them on yourself. Begin by getting a feeling for the crystal you are working with. Carry it around, look at it often, turn it in your hand and feel its energy between the fingertips. Meditate with it, or put it under your pillow or on a nightstand next to your head while sleeping. You will begin to sense after a short period of time different ways of working with it. By becoming quiet and sensitive, your reactions will intuitively guide you. Many people have experienced crystal dreams of an instructive nature both prior to and after being in a crystal field. In general, crystals are most effective when worn on or next to the body. However, they radiate in a field of approximately 3 feet and are effective just by having them within that space. When worn, however, Vogel and others caution their wearing for over long periods of time, more than several hours, as they are powerful medicine which may overcharge or deplete one's energy field. Causing imbalance. Legitimate ritual. Rituals may have started as offerings to the gods, a method of conversing with the Great Spirit about the frightening and awesome issues of living and dying. Indeed, much original ritual has been tainted with the superstitions of successive generations, but for the higher levels of legitimate ritual in the United States, one need only explore with the proper respect, heart space, and truly humble willingness to learn. Those of our Native American tribal and Métis, pronounced Métis, Métis, pronounced Métis, equals mixed blood. Indian people. The living course of American Indian spiritual studies is called the medicine wheel and alternatively the rainbow path. Significance seen later, in which the word medicine equates as wisdom. The medicine wheel is a great cosmic compass, the wheel of all human consciousness and the cycle of all that exists of matter and thought, space and time, in harmony of body, mind, heart, and spirit. Thus, medicine wheels arrange and form from ancient archaeological rock Sarin circles like Stonehenge and Medicine Bend, to Mesoamerican stone calendars and even astrological horoscopes. A more contemporary Amerindian vision of the medicine wheel is taught by Sun Bear. A medicine chief of Chippewa descent and Métis heart, in which the 4 great medicine practices snake, earth, herbal, white, crystal, and sun dance heal the 4 realms of being: emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. Since our concentration here is focused upon crystals, let us consider only the practice of white crystal medicine and its attendant power object, the white quartz crystal. Let us visit, then, with several white crystal medicine people and see how they use crystals. As we do so, remember that a medicine man or woman's training and vision of life combine the very broad abilities of doctor, psychologist, priest, lawyer, and prophet, and merges worship and healing practice with a concept of transformable reality, giving complete power to the mind. Harley Swift Deer, a Cherokee Métis, part Irish, medicine chief, was born in the panhandle of Texas during a tremendous thunder and lightning storm in which both the diffused sun and a late full moon were together partially visible. He is the founder and spiritual leader of the Deer Medicine tribe. The Deer is the keeper of magic, located in La Crescenta, California, just outside Los Angeles, and teaches there when not traveling and speaking. Swift Deer, who has studied many esoteric philosophies and spiritual mystical systems, chooses to work with the traditional Indian medicine, which he defines as the ability to bring balance into a given space by seeing the energies within that space and coming into harmony with them, the ability to control change and death. For example, he says, I use the medicine pipe to call the powers of the universe to invoke these powers into a sacred wheel or circle in a sweat lodge, the womb of Grandmother Earth. Although a pipe medicine chief, Swift Deer, who freely admits that his medicine power comes through his female side, is also widely known as a teacher of white crystal and sundance medicine. Eric Darwalker Rubel, a primary medicine student of Swift Deer's and a Métis white crystal medicine man in his own right, discusses some of Swift Deer's teachings and their joint methods of using crystals and feathers. In the body of the Earth Mother, crystals are akin to brain cells. Gemstones are the organs, rocks, the muscles, sand, the skin, and trees, foliage, flora, etc., the hair. The transparent white quartz crystal has the power to work with all the colors and chakras. Mystical energy centers, also known as spinning wheel, of the body. More about this later, and make the intellectual mental healing connections. Compromise traditional Métis white crystal medicine of North Power direction. The specific manner of crystal feather use is to first form what is called the 10 wheel. The attending shaman or healer directs the patient to lie with head/feet in the proper position for the visualized result, i.e., head north for mental clarity, head south for emotional balance, etc. Feet in each case draw the healing energies for the head/body. Then 10 quartz crystals are placed, first wheel-like, then in which 7 crystals are placed on the 7 chakra points, an 8th crystal governs the entire physical body, and a 9th crystal the entire auric, etheric, outer energy body, all via the shaman, who uses the 10th crystal, called the seeing crystal, to determine exactly how the first 9 are to be placed. This is done much like a gypsy uses a crystal ball, like a psychic window, but in addition, the shaman uses clairvoyant auric color vision to associate the colors emanating from the other crystals to their appropriate positions. Having done this, the shaman then enters the maze, the patient's subconscious patterns, exploring the many complex and multiple energies therein and working with them to balance the patient from within. Hence, the 10th seeing crystal links the shaman's 10 wheel with that of the patient, providing him access to this kind of psychic healing symbiosis. Although, throughout this process, feathers, usually eagle, are used to awaken or diffuse the crystals, generally by banding them with either single feathers or an entire wing, also used to stroke or cleanse the patient's aura as well. After the healing, the feathers are purified by smudging, passing them with prayer through the smoke of burning sage, cedar, sweetgrass, etc., and the 10 crystals are cleansed by one's week soaking in sea salt water, charged at least 12 hours in sunlight or moonlight, and stored in silk or skin bags. Eloise Halsey, a full-blood Lakota rosebud Sui? I forget how you say that. Whatever that is. Medicine woman, healer, and spiritual counselor, now living in Phoenix, Arizona, uses quartz crystals and feathers in similar fashion. Eloise, whose Sui name is tallow, literally meat, but in Sui symbology, the equivalent of strength, beauty, and sustenance. Like Swift Deer uses these white crystal and Sundance medicine power objects to treat the auric energy fields of patients and channel spiritual messages, usually in trance to them. At times, Eloise also uses seashells and minerals other than quartz to help her cleanse the patient's aura and restore balanced energies. Her use of hands and voice also contribute, as she herself says, "I offer my healing services only when asked, a natural law among all responsible healers. First, I will counsel with a prospective patient to determine what they think is wrong with them, although often the problem lies elsewhere. I then ask spirit which instruments, crystals, feathers, etc. to use, and then I ask the whole Swa nation, which includes those in spirit form, to help me energize them through the will of my hands and heart. The choice of crystals and or feathers is often a function of the patient's consciousness, whichever instrument they have the most faith in accepting. I generally use either interchangeably, although I personally find crystals to be slightly more solid retainers of energy than feathers. After use, I purify feathers by prayer and by smudging, and cleanse crystals by soaking them in salt water, at least overnight. recharging them in either sunlight, high power, or moonlight, low power, to balance their male-female polarities, obtained by personal interview. Besides healing individual patients, Eloise is dedicated to healing the Earth Mother as well. Through her service, charged crystals have been implanted in Egypt, Mexico, and throughout Arizona to, in her words, connect at different times of the year on the 7th level. Energy grid patterns between Earth, stars, and planets. Oshina, Fast Wolf, a Métis, Mohawk Apache, white crystal medicine woman, trained psychologist and cancer therapist, also works with healing the planet, because I really don't believe there is any healing on any level until the planet itself is healed, she adds. I've learned about crystals from the Mayans, from the Navajo, and from the Tibetan teacher. Apache people have always used them. Almost all peoples everywhere in the world have used crystals. I wondered why and started researching it. There is all sorts of scientific data that covers what is going on with crystals on the physical realm. I believe that today's mysticism is tomorrow's science. And what we're doing is catching up linguistically to what is being done on spiritual levels. We already live in a crystal technology. The major component of watches is a crystal, and in computers, the crystal is the memory bank. So that indicates to me that what my great-grandmother told me about being able to charge them, to program them, makes absolute sense. I can take a crystal and can breathe my intentions into it and program it to do a certain work for me. Ooh. And the body, being 78% to 96% water, is a liquid crystal. If you examine the skin with a microscope, you will see little crystals, not to mention the blood and urine crystals. Like Eloise Halsey, Shana counsels with patients first, then assesses their electromagnetic field by moving a seeing crystal through it. The most important point is to remember that crystals magnify intention, so I literally breathe healing and loving intentions into the crystal before and during its application. Accredited psychic receivership. While it may be true that the receivership of many psychics under scrutiny leaves something to be desired, nonetheless, we in this country are truly blessed having those whose receivership have been accredited by formal documentation, joint witness, and or simply having withstood the test of time and truth. Foremost in these categories lies the work of Edgar Cayce, whose file of some 15,000 psychic trance readings spanning 45 years, 1901 to 1945, is preserved at Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the custody of the Edgar Cayce Foundation. Amidst these volumes, several readings refer specifically to crystals and their use. Crystal has a helpful influence if carried about the body, not as an omen, not merely as a good luck piece or good luck charm, but those vibrations which are needed as helpful influences for the entity, subject seeking aid, are well to be kept close about the body. In the choice of stones, do wear the amethyst as a pendant about the neck, as a part of the jewelry. This will also work with the colors to control temperament. Cayce also explains the nature of their use. All creation is a manifestation of that creative influence or force called God. And these elements in crystals and gemstones being such to the body as they are part of the evolution of vibration, so may they bring those helpful vibrations about the entity, not merely as an omen for each soul is a part of the whole creation and gives off that help or that urge which is latent and manifested in the relationships with others. So may these elements bring helpful environs, helpful forces in the experience of the entity. Paige Bryant, internationally known psychic, lecturer, and radio personality, has expanded her outreach beyond dimensions and has brought forward through her spiritual teacher Albion an excellent understanding of the relationship between man and the mineral family in her very concise booklet, Crystals and Their Use, a study of at-one-ment with the mineral kingdom. She and Albion reveal the following arcane knowledge concerning the nature and the use of crystals, their physical and esoteric qualities, and how they may be used in a manner to heal the self. The atoms that make up the body of this mineral are magnetic in their vibration, as it is sensed by the psychic abilities, and therefore they have the ability to attract and magnetize energies and forces. The crystal will or can draw vibrations also from other life forms. It can equally reach into the astral plane and other dimensions as well, and draw energies from those levels. This is so for the crystal is one of the few life forms upon the planet that has the ability to penetrate from one dimension of existence into another. Were you to view the crystal with clairvoyant sight, you would see that there is somewhat of a haze around it, for the astral body of the crystal exists on the periphery within the auric field. It is this astral body that has the attracting power. The physical body of the crystal simply acts as a battery and will store what has been attracted. And with regard to healing, remember, many illnesses are not physical in their origin. Although it is true that the crystal's energy does affect the etheric and astral bodies, it is for the purpose of healing the physical self. When you have discerned that the problem in question is physical, then hold the crystal in your hands, preferably in the palm of the right hand, for this is the side of the body that emits a positive male and electrical current. The left side of the body emits a more magnetic and feminine receptive type of energy. While you are holding the crystal in your hand, project your own thoughts of healings into the mineral so as to program it with the proper intentions. The crystal will receive and hold the thoughts that are implanted. Hence, Page and Albion confirm that quartz crystal is programmable. The quartz mineral has the capacity to be programmed as you would desire it to function. You are the programmer. The crystal can be programmed to absorb these excess thoughts and thus cleanse the consciousness. The author goes on to offer a specific method of using the crystals she has discussed in depth earlier to balance the emotional and astral bodies within us. Dang, this is long. Also representative of the higher truths about crystals is Lavender's book, through Beverly Criswell, Quartz Crystals, A Celestial Point of View. In this little gem, several superb sections that treat the nature of quartz crystals as vibratory and programmable minerals used for energy manifestation, communication, healing, and planetary and universal power sources. In regard to healing, the healing process of the body is actually done by the mind, which is a crystal brain computer. This crystal brain computer. What does it say for that? This crystal brain sends out signals to the physical body and determines which cells need repairing. These signals travel through connective silica, tissue, without which the body would not be able to receive the necessary signals for maintaining a healthy body. As in the previous work, this author also discusses some excellent methods for activating and charging crystals, caring for them, and using them in meditation. Of particular aid is the author's inclusion of astrological timing factors beneficial to activating quartz crystals. Documented or proven practice. Oh no. Obviously, all the foregoing treatments of established science, legitimate ritual, and accredited psychic receivership fall under this category as well. What may also be added in this section is the reader's own experience with documented, proven examples using crystals for healing. The reader is also free to reject certain recalled or witnessed psychic healing experiences as being suspect, questionable, or even downright deceptive, or sham, as in the final analysis, it is always the reader's still small voice within heart space that speaks its own unique brand of truth. Bum, bum, bum.